Good afternoon, everyone. How's everybody doing on this incredibly gorgeous day? How many of us have gotten outside to take a quick walk? Love to see that. Thank you, everybody. Quick show of hands, how many of you are here for the very first time at a State of the Castle meeting? All right. Welcome. So again, for those of you that may be new, I'm Tyler Goodix, I'm your Executive Director, and we have a pretty full agenda today, and so we're going to jump into it. I also have some show and tell that I'm going to queue up, so apologize in advance for my technical difficulties. But as always, we are going to start out with our resident council update. We will have a special guest. Amanda from the Alzheimer's Association is supposed to be joining us today to give us a brief update and presentation just on the Alzheimer's Association, the walk, the fundraising, etc. So I do not see Amanda yet in the crowd. So when she arrives, we will introduce her. So Joe, we'll have you first. Joe, your resident council president.
Hello, everybody. Hello. Okay, got a couple things. Number one, in the main library has been, and on the elevators, you've seen maybe this sign. We really need help watering in the gardens that the residents take care of. Those gardens are the 3 beds outside the dining room, the raised bed outside the dining room across the way, the rooftop garden, and the cutting garden, which is outside in the gazebo area near the butterfly garden. So those are the only resident areas that we're responsible for, but they do need watering. Mother Nature has been very kind recently, but we can't count on that all summer. So I'm going to leave this up here. It's been out for at least a week, and I'll leave it out until Sunday. I'll leave it up here for today if you come up after the meeting and sign up, or it'll be in the main library after that. Okay, handbooks. First thing I want to do is a recognition of the Communications Committee. Jim Fry, Susan Hackle, Sandra Meyer, Eileen Olin, Dave Woodard, and most recently Kathy Sammons has joined us. They have worked tirelessly on this since January, and it has been a huge project, and we hope it's put together the way that makes it user-friendly and something that you will find very, very useful. Unfortunately, the printer was unable to get them printed in time for us to distribute it today as we had planned. There is a large round tub up here. If you happen to bring your binder with you today, go ahead and remove all of the contents and dump it in that binder. They will be recycled then. What will happen is when we get the delivery from the printer, we will come around, we will leave the contents on your ledge. We ask that you recycle what's in there. The goal here is that everybody is singing from the same songbook. Right now, there's at least 4 versions of the handbook circulating around the building. And so the goal has always been to get it to a point where everybody has the same information. So if you would help us out by recycling your old contents, putting in your new contents, and from time to time, we'll probably drop off on your ledge maybe a sheet that is an update or is some new information, and we will say on there where it goes. You know, put this behind page 16 in your handbook, and it will have a 3-hole punch in it and be ready to add to your book then. You're also going to get in the next few days the newsletter for July, which is a special edition. We call it the Where and How edition, and the reason for that is because we're tired, we, the Communications Committee, are tired of hearing, I never knew that. I didn't know that was there. Oh my gosh. So we hope we have answered many, many of those questions, okay? So thank you for everything you do to make this a vibrant and fabulous community.
All right, thank you, Joe, and thank you to all the residents that helped out. Well, my friend arrived. This is Amanda Gabert. She is with the Alzheimer's Association, and she's going to give you a brief overview of the Alzheimer's Walk, what work is being done for Alzheimer's, so on and so forth. So, welcome, Amanda.
Thank you. Thanks, guys, for adjusting your agenda. They closed lane on 94, even though Summerfest is today. Who would do that? So sorry, I didn't plan for that. So, yes, the Alzheimer's Association. We are actually the largest non-profit organization that does the work we do in the entire world. We have resources that come at absolutely no cost to anyone who would like to use them because of some of the fundraising we do, which I'll talk about later. But we have care consultations, support groups, memory cafes, which are an extra special event where you and your loved one who may have dementia go to a non-judgmental free zone of maybe going to a brewery or doing some sort of outing, canoeing, fishing, so everyone feels like they are in the same boat, no pun to fishing intended there, but it is a really nice time because sometimes when you are out with your loved one who has dementia, you might feel isolated or like you are being judged by the server who's waiting on you at a restaurant because your loved one keeps asking, well, where's my food? It's like, well, we just put the order in, you have to wait, you know. So this isn't a place where, you know, you feel a little bit more maybe welcome. So we do have those are called memory cafes. We also have a really awesome website at alz.org that has forums where people can ask questions. We have almost too many resources on the website. You can get lost sometimes in there, but all of the information is in there. We also have an 800 number. This 800 number is staffed 24/7 by master level clinicians. You could call on Christmas morning, someone will answer. You can call at 2 a.m., someone will answer. You can call during your coffee and someone will answer. They can answer low-key questions you may just generally have about dementia. You can also call about, hey, when's the next support group near me? And they'll be able to either give you information on it or send you to a person at your local office like myself to help you find that. You can also call if you're in an emergency, that you know that you don't have to call 911. The story I like to tell about this is there was a young woman whose dad had dementia, was throwing shoes at her. And so she locked herself in the closet. She's like, well, I'm not gonna call 911. What are the police gonna do about it? And so she called her 800 number and said, how can I de-escalate this situation? How do I get my dad to calm down? He's just agitated, what do I do? And so we were able to talk her through how to talk to him, ideas to get him to calm down, and it worked out perfectly, and she was able to walk out, and there was no shoes being flung at her anymore. So we can also be used for that at the 800 number. I have, because I was late, I didn't get to set out any materials, but if you guys want that number, I can totally give it to you. Off the top of my head, if you're taking notes, it's 800-272-3900. And so that is the Alzheimer's Association helpline. So that is a general overview of the resources that we provide. But we also provide research. So we are helping fund over 1,000 research studies across the globe. We also have some here locally, which I like to talk about. We have some happening at UW-Milwaukee, Madison, and the Medical College of Wisconsin. My favorite one that's going on right now is at UW-Milwaukee with Dr. Karen Frick, and she's studying how estrogen and menopause impact the brain, because women are more likely to develop Alzheimer's than men. Why? Well, she's going to find out. And we do already know that estrogen and menopause have an impact on that because of how it increases and decreases the size of our hippocampus. But she's gonna find out more and see how we can help stop it or alleviate it or push it off further in our life. So that's super cool. We also are working with health systems. Right now, when you get diagnosed with Alzheimer's disease, you're really just given a pamphlet and walked out the door. That's not okay. When you're diagnosed with cancer, you're given someone who helps you with the chemotherapy, someone that helps you with the finances, and a social worker. More people die of Alzheimer's than people that die of breast and prostate cancer combined. Why don't we have an infrastructure to help people that are diagnosed with Alzheimer's or other forms of dementia? So at the Alzheimer's Association, we are working on changing that infrastructure to give caregivers and their loved ones an actual navigation pathway through the healthcare system. Because we have our first treatment ever. I don't remember when I came here last year to talk to you guys what time of year it was. But we finally got it approved last year in November so that it could be covered by Medicare and Medicaid. It's called Leqembi, or lecanemab, and it helps remove the plaque that's causing your neurons to stop firing that will then shrink your brain because the neurons aren't firing anymore. So it actually will remove the plaque so that you can live in your healthiest stage of Alzheimer's the longest. Rather than declining really fast, maybe you'll just stay in that early stage when you might, forget some things here and there. That's okay, let's have you live in that stage longer than you live in maybe the middle to late stages. So we do have this treatment that actually stops the progression along the way. And we are like 50 days away from getting our second treatment. And it's called donanemab. And it does a similar thing to Leqembi, but it is has a higher success rate. It is more impactful. So that is very exciting for us that our research is working and that we're coming along because we don't have a cure. And we know that over 7 million people are impacted by this disease, just living with the disease. That doesn't include their caregivers. And so how do we do all of this? It's through the fundraising we do through events like the Walk to End Alzheimer's. And you guys are a huge, huge part of that. Thank you so much. East Castle Place is a part of a larger company who has nationally partnered with the Alzheimer's Association to stand behind us and to help us fulfill our mission. So you guys are a piece of that puzzle, and it means a lot to have you locally helping out the Walk to End Alzheimer's in Milwaukee County. Last year, the Walk was able to raise over $100 million through the Walk to End Alzheimer's event. So thank you for being a part of that. And so this year our goal is $115 million, because why not? We need it, right? We need to do research, we need to make sure all of our services stay free. We don't want anyone to have to pay for anything, so that's how we do it. We of course have other smaller events that help fund through like galas, major gifts, stuff like that, but the Walk to End Alzheimer's is not only our largest signature event that funds our mission, but it's also the world's largest event that funds Alzheimer's Association research and funding. So that's pretty cool. So you guys are a part of something not only local, but also national and global. That's really all I wanted to tell you guys about today. Do you have any questions for me?
I do.
Yes.
Some of the research I have been a part of on computer, and one of the processes that I was working on with many of us was how to set up a way for people to know if they have money or don't have money, how to still get the services that you need. And you started off with enter here, and then after you entered here, you based what you were going to do for Alzheimer's as based on your choices there. How do I know when they've started that research? I mean, when they've started the answers now so that people use the product?
So the question is, someone here is a part of research online. So they were a test subject that had to be a part of a program that helped you figure out if you had funding, if you had money, was that correct? Like in your own bank account?
Right.
And it was like a website that you were testing out to make sure it worked. So when will you find that out? That's a great question. I don't know. Well, they probably should tell you. How long did you have to do that study for?
We were on that study for about 5 months.
For 5 months you did the study. When did you stop doing it?
My mind went blank after I started trying to move, so I can't tell you.
Moving made her mind go blank, so she doesn't quite remember.
I can't really remember that one, but I think when I know when I moved here in August, we were just finishing.
Okay, so somewhere in last fall, you finished it. Okay. Maybe it might take a year because they have to collect all of the data. Then they have to be able to make any changes that they think need to be changed. I mean, worst case, you could just email whoever you were getting your information from and say, when will I find out? But that is a good point. We are always needing people to help us in research. So if you are interested in being a part of that, it could be as simple as being on your computer, answering questions, or working your way through a website to see if it works out. Or you might have to drive to Chicago, or you might have to go somewhere in Milwaukee, give blood, get an MRI or a PET scan, but you get to choose. So you can sign up at if you just Google Trial Match, Alzheimer's Association, you'll be able to enter into a study if you would like. Again, they email you depending upon your age, if you have someone in your family that has it, even if you're a caregiver, because we're always working on caregiver stress and how we can continue to lower that. So there's no wrong way to get involved, and being a research partner is one of them. Thank you for doing that. That's awesome. Any other questions? I know you guys have a long agenda. Thank you so much for letting me be here, guys. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you, you too.
Thank you, Amanda. And Amanda mentioned the larger organization that East Council Place is part of, and that organization is LCS. And Lindsay and I just returned from a conference there. And LCS Foundation's goal is over $750,000 as an organization to give to Alzheimer's, which I believe they achieved last year. So I think Arlie turned the lights off on us. And he turned them back on. Thank you, Arlie. So our goal this year is $1 million in efforts to help with Alzheimer's. So we'd love to see you on the walk. I think we'll be coordinating transportation. I know we may be tired. It is the day after the 140th gala, but
We're just continuing the party.
we're just continuing the party, as Amanda said. So thank you so much, Amanda. And I think if you have questions or need resources, Amanda's available. Teresa, I'm sure, can get access to those as well as Jen and Mia, who are leading our Alzheimer's efforts from a fundraising standpoint, as well as our employee efforts. So more to come there. Thank you, Amanda. All right, the next update is from Lindsay Vigu, our Associate Executive Director. Lindsay.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Tyler. My update is very short and sweet this month. Census from a healthcare standpoint in our health center for the front half of June was a record-breaking high. We were 100% full. So that is great. That's the first time in my career of over 6 years here at East Castle. So we always like to see that. And then just want to make a plug. I know someday we'll end up talking about COVID, but it seems like there has been a recent increase with general public individuals testing positive for COVID of what feels like allergies or the common cold or flu-like symptoms. So I just want you to make sure that you're talking with your prescriber on ensuring that if you are eligible for the booster, that you get that if you so choose, as well as just being aware of your symptoms with the warm weather and staying hydrated, especially with all the outdoor activities we have forthcoming. And that's all I have. Any questions for me? Short and sweet. All right, I'll move it on to Evan.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm going to start off with a few things that are not on the agenda, and I'm going to try to go fast. So the first one is we had our first DIY class, soap making. Was anyone there for that? Wonderful. So in a few weeks, we're going to be doing a string art one. If you're interested, please see me after and I'll give you details, okay? So that's the first thing I have to say. The second, piggybacking off of the Alzheimer's presentation, Penny Wars are coming in August, so if you are interested, please participate. This is something that is residents and staff, and from what I was told, I don't know if this is accurate, some people may get pied in the face with
Yes,
that
remember it was
event.
Tyler and Lindsay last year, so if you would like to see that again, that would be great and not Jen's face. So we will have a table set up next to the reception desk for the whole month of August with like a sign of like what silver is good, what dollars are good, and all of that. But it's a great way for us to raise, 2 years ago we raised $1,000 just from Penny Wars. So if you have that spare change, please have it ready for August 1st, and let's get Tyler and Lindsay pied in the face again. Yay!
Thank you, Jen.
You're welcome.
And then a few other quick things that are on the agenda. So update on the Idlewild Cruise. So we have about 30 tickets left. I put out an e-blast about, I don't know, a week or two ago, partnering with Anna and the marketing team if you have any friends that are interested in East Castle. If you have a friend that's not interested in East Castle, that is also going to be something we're going to allow. Obviously, it's going to be on a case-by-case basis. Residents are going to come first, but if you're interested in bringing a friend, please let me know. First come, first serve. All right? Any other questions with the boat tour? Wonderful. And then the last thing I have to talk about is newspaper etiquette. So, how many people read the paper in the morning? I know when I walk through the hallways, I see a lot of folks down there. Thank you. We want you to read the paper. That's why we get them. We have a few publications we have, articles from. The biggest thing though is please be considerate. You saw the hands of how many people use it, so put them back nicely. Leave the pages. Don't bring them back to your rooms. All right? Any other questions, guys? Wonderful. I think Anna's next.
Thank you, Evans. Good afternoon, everyone. Hope you all are well on this lovely day. Lots of exciting things in sales and marketing, so just wanted to provide you with a quick couple of updates. Number one, hard to believe another quarter has gone by and we have our quarterly raffle for those of you that submit a friend's name in our Friends for Neighbors referral program. So I know we have a couple days left in the month here, but excited to announce that Dr. Rita Bacalars is our winner for referring so much. Congratulations. And again, a reminder about that program, anytime you submit a name of a friend or loved one interested in learning more about East Castle Place to us that has not yet inquired, you're entered into the raffle. And if they do eventually move in, you get $2,000 off of one of your monthly service fees. So don't hesitate to provide those names. Aside from that, wanted to just give an update. 2 weeks ago, a couple of us in my department went up to Door County and for the first time to just explore the waters up there, figuratively, not literally. But we hosted 2 marketing events in Egg Harbor and Sturgeon Bay, thanks to many of your fellow neighbors who helped us to coordinate these events. And just wanted to share that we had about 15 prospective residents out there who joined us for those 2 events. So feel that it was well worth our time to share some of the good news about East Castle Place up in Door County. So a huge thank you to all of you that helped us to coordinate those events. Some of your neighbors joined us up there as well. It was a lot of fun. So stay tuned as we would love to do it again next year. Couple other things, occupancy updates and independent living. We are working through a couple of new neighbors joining you here earlier in the fall this year, which will leave us with just 1 apartment home left. So would encourage you again, if you know of anyone who's contemplating, if now's the time, please come talk to us because we just have 1 home in Lake Terrace left that's available. Last thing, 2 other things. First, thank you again to all of you who open up your homes, because as we don't have availability, you may get more calls from us asking to show your place because we don't have available homes to show. So thank you for all of your support there. If you're looking for an additional way to help East Castle Place, shout out to the bond lenders who just yesterday submitted an online review on Google. So, a really quick education about the importance of those online reviews. Google has a lot of swaying power, and so they choose kind of the order in which places such as ours may show up if someone searches for senior living in Milwaukee. When a community like us has more positive reviews, and reviews with information about your experience here, that helps to, for free, boost East Castle Place up to the top of that list. So I would encourage all of you, if you're able to go on Google, and you can leave your remarks about East Castle Place very simply, which will help us, again, for free at no cost, to boost our position on Google. So you'll find at the front desk or any of my team members, there's a QR code if you like those to scan, and you can leave a review for East Castle Place or contact us, and we are more than happy to walk you through that process. That is all I have, unless there are any questions for me. All right, thank you again, and I'll pass it off to Eric.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll jump into just a few updates and then I'll get into the questions. First of which is window washing. It's taken a lot longer this year, but we spaced it out so we could try to make sure they stayed on schedule. Yesterday was the last day they were scheduled for resident apartments. Today and tomorrow are makeup days, areas that they were missed, or anywhere we ran behind that they had to circle back to, including common areas. But I'm thankful to be wrapped up with that tomorrow. The next item you'll be getting a memo about is filter changes. We'll be doing those here in the next couple weeks. So when we do that, we'll come to your apartment. The simple thing is we're changing out the air filter. We want to make sure that we're allowing enough air through the heating and cooling coil. It's not so much an air quality thing as it is just to keep that coil clean so it runs the way it's supposed to. Secondly, we'll be maintaining some of the drains to make sure we don't have any backups as well. And then you guys will be checking the associated equipment. For you in Contemporary, that's going to be your condensing units up on the roof. They'll be making sure those are ready for the season, that they don't burn out any bad fan motors, compressors, things along those lines. In Historic, it's more you have chilled and hot water, so it's the zone valves that can give us some problems once in a while as well. So sometimes we spend a little bit more time in Historic because those valves are extremely difficult to get to see them and take the time to fix them. Also, one other thing I want to address, a few of our residents, mostly in Historic, have been affected by fire alarms. They are false alarms. Just to give you a little clarity as to what's happening, the fire alarm system has two types of voltages. One's for communication, one makes the alarms go off, both the sounder bases and the strobes. So you have AC and DC voltage. Every once in a while, one piece of the, probably something in the ballpark of 1,000 pieces of equipment has a problem, and it's not an apparent problem. So they have to the fire alarm company has to weed through which device is causing us the issue. And that one device probably is causing a shorted signal to go to certain sounder bases, and then they go off intermittently. So that is kind of why that is happening. I would say it's happening to about half a dozen residents in Historic. We've since removed some of their smoke detectors to mitigate the false alarms, because that's really what is most important to me. I don't want to interrupt you. We have more than enough smoke detectors here to call for coverage. We have sprinklers across the whole site, so I'm not worried about our fire safety. I'm more worried about the annoyance and the misinformation of the false alarms that we would get and upsetting the fire department. So they're ordering us an additional loop card so they can put devices onto it. They're going to put those devices on a chunk at a time. When it clears the problem, we know that chunk of last devices is probably the group we have to look at. So they'll be starting that next week, Tuesday, but just a little bit more clarity as to I believe it was Tuesday, we had a couple false alarms in Contemporary. Just want to make an understanding as to why. On to the questions. First resident question is, what is the problem with the Bradford Terrace air conditioning? Are resident rooms without air conditioning? If so, is their health affected? We haven't had any sort of no air conditioning problems in Bradford Terrace. We've been battling mitigating the humidity. Part of the problem is it's an older system, whereas your apartment, it's small and it's closed. It's a little bit more manageable. That system is one large air handler in the basement. It feeds 5 floors. So it has to work really, really hard to be able to draw humidity out of the building. We made some further adjustments yesterday, and I'm very pleased with how they're looking. We have our humidity down from 57 to 62%, all the way down to 44%. So drawing that humidity down is going to make it feel a lot less swampy or humid, and when it feels like that, you know that the heat always feels hotter. But we never had any air conditioning loss. It's just kind of managing the humidity. It's managing any heat gain you get through the windows. So there's a lot of different factors to consider, but we've been working through it. In some instances, it may be a resident wants another fan. We drop off a fan for a while. That is never our end game. That's just to make sure they feel that we're responding. But we work to always make sure that we're getting the machinery working the way it's supposed to provide the best cooling we can. The other question is, has the fire lane no parking been moved from the south side of the building? Right? I think I meant to be removed. I'm going to assume, based on this, the south side of the building is over towards Lake Terrace. I think maybe the point there is we didn't do any striping over in the Lake Terrace, that service lane. We didn't do any striping there. The striping for the parking lots took place in the Bradford Terrace parking lot and then also the Contemporary entrance. Those are the two we focused on. We didn't focus on the Lake Terrace entry because there may be some asphalt work that needs to get done before we do any sort of striping. Next question, when does the metal fence around the perimeter of the property get cleaned? There's no real preventative maintenance for that. I can just ask the guys to hit it with the backpack blowers when they're cutting and blowing off the lawn. So now that I know about it, I'll go ahead and add that to their list. One other one is, when do the first floor porches be power washed? The resident that's been looking for that, we have that set up for them this afternoon. Usually we did some of that, but our power washer is not available right now, so it's kind of limited our ability to respond quickly to some of those power washing issues. Last question is, why do I have to put everything away from my cleaning person coming over? It takes me 2 hours to move and replace all the items each time. Again, with some of those, I'm trying to interpret the question. In this instance, I would say if you're moving stuff, it's because you want them to dust. So if you're wanting them to dust, you have to have the area cleared. Not completely. It's really meant to be your knickknacks. The last thing we want to do is break something of yours, so we're asking it to be cleared. I think a lot of times it can just be communicated. If you have a good rapport with your housekeeper, just mention it to them, see if they can work with you on it. If you don't feel like you are getting the answer you're looking for, because sometimes maybe the housekeeper isn't understanding it, just call Ian. A lot of the new residents, you got the new housekeeping cut sheet that has kind of what we do on holidays, what we clean, what we don't clean, how to get extra services, and what to do for even the dusting and cleaning. I would recommend just calling Ian if you have a concern, and that's every time, but specific to this, if you have a concern with it. Maybe there's just a misunderstanding there as to how much needs to be cleared, and it really shouldn't take 2 hours. So I think just maybe a call to him, let him come take a look at it and better understand the situation, and I'm sure we can make an accommodation. Any other questions? Yes, Richard.
Yesterday, about early morning or early afternoon, mid-afternoon, and late afternoon, there appeared in the courtyard facing the gazebo a loud noise. It was like the swirling fans. It was louder than I've ever heard before. Then there's a drone on top of it, and I'm wondering, oh, are we going to be having these problems here? And then it stopped after 5 minutes or so. And then maybe 10 minutes later, it started again, and it stopped. Was that some kind of a test? Do you know what I'm talking about?
I hate to say I'm not sure at all. Specific, if you're thinking it's in relation to the unit we were looking at, that unit hasn't ran all summer. It only runs in the transition months, and it's been way too warm for that to have run. So I'm certain it's not related to that. The other noise you're hearing, I'm not entirely certain where it's coming from. Sometimes, as I've learned, here in kind of this urban area, we get sounds that come off our roof that you don't hear until 3 blocks away. It just depends the way things come off the roof, the way they bounce between buildings. We do a lot of PMs on the equipment. We just had a lot of our HVAC equipment PM'd last month, or preventive maintenance check, by a contracted company. So I don't think it's any of our equipment. The items that were noted have been replaced. So
It seemed like it was turned on. It just was erupted, it was swirling fans in the joint, and then 5 minutes later, just like magic, it just stopped. And it happened at least 3 times, maybe 4 times.
I would say something like that, if it ever happens again. Just call the front desk, they can always get me on the radio
Okay.
for more urgent items like that. Because unfortunately, the only way I'm ever gonna be able to solve is if I can hear it. Otherwise, I could be chasing my tail out there for quite a while looking for what could be a
It was
problem.
only yesterday, it wasn't before that, and I didn't hear it today.
Okay. No, I appreciate you saying something, and if you do hear it again, let me know. Okay. Next on the agenda. Yes, sorry.
You mentioned our apartment cleaning.
Yes.
I may have the answer in the handbook. However, how much are we supposed to expect of the cleaner? What specifically are they to do in our apartment?
What I'll do is I'll bring by the actual cut sheet that explains every single item that they're to touch. Because to your point, sometimes it's just there's a misunderstanding as to what they're supposed to clean and what the resident's expecting. So I'll bring by a cut sheet, and it'll more clearly explain everything that they're supposed to be cleaning. Yeah, and again, if you ever have any concern about it, half the issues that ever come up are miscommunication related. So it doesn't mean that someone doesn't want to do something, or that, I would just say, always reach out to, the manager of that department, and they can come out and make a better understanding and probably fix the issue pretty
I'm
quickly.
just curious.
Yeah, no, that's a great point.
With my cleaner.
Very good. Okay, I'll move on to Mike Breeder.
Oh, I have a question.
All right, last one.
Is there a schedule for changing the filters?
I mentioned that at the beginning, that memo will be coming out probably, I would say this week or early next
Thank
week.
you.
Just trying to find a good time to get the right technician on it.
Gotcha, thank you.
Thank you, Eric. I just have about 20 things to get through, so relax. On the agenda, you will see community fire pit is the first item on there. I'd also like to mention that this is in relation to the Community Enrichment Fund. A group of your neighbors decided that a community fire pit would be a very useful thing in the courtyard. We now have that fire pit. It's in the courtyard, but nobody knows how to use it yet, and nobody is authorized to use it yet. We are going to have a training tomorrow at 1:30 in the afternoon. Appropriate staff will be there, and if any interested residents would like to know how to use the fire pit as well, attending that session would be essential. I don't think you'd be allowed to use the fire pit if there isn't someone there who hasn't been through the process. And I think it's Eric that's going to walk us through that. Is that right? Yeah, Eric's going to walk us through that. In addition to that, well, there it is. Isn't that great? Eric picked that out for us. So starting tomorrow night, you'll be able to use it if you so wish. They don't have to go out and collect firewood or anything like that. It's propane, so you just turn it on, light it, and away you go. Unfortunately, the Community Enrichment Fund that made the decision to purchase the fire pit hasn't had to meet in about 4 months now. The reason is we don't have any money in the Community Enrichment Fund anymore. If you'd like to talk to me about how we can address that problem, come on up and we can talk at some point in time. If you also have something that you think the community could really use, but it fell through the cracks at budget time, come up and talk to me. That's the purpose of the Community Enrichment Fund. And there, again, you have a prime example of what it does. It also purchased the pool table that's down in the basement of the historic building, recumbent bicycle that's down there, all kinds of things it's done in the past. So there's that. A group of you were at a seminar or a presentation on Monday. Some good friends of mine from PBS, Kim Sosa and Emmett Liston, were here. And then they were going to be going up into your apartments and hook you up for PBS Passport. Fortunately, unfortunately for Kim and Emmett, there was a lot more people than we anticipated, which tells us that there's great interest in this. They were only able to get to 1/3 of you in your apartments. They have pledged to come back. They will get into every one of your apartments. They will get you all hooked up for Passport. They are sending me the list of the people that signed up. You will see me, you will hear from me next week. I'm going to try to cluster this together so that over a 2-day period, they can do, maybe 7 each day and get to all of you. So please be patient. PBS will get you your Passport probably within the next couple of weeks, and you'll all be up and running. I do want to thank Pat Dunn. She's in the back over there. I see Pat Dunn recently made a significant contribution to the Treasure Chest Scholarship Fund. And there you go. Thank you. Thank you, Pat. We're very grateful. It is a significant enough amount of money that it will fund a scholarship. Pat wants it to be used for our employees, our student employees, who might be going for trades. As you know, we've also received a significant contribution in the past from Mickey Pollard in honor of Dr. Randall Pollard. That scholarship will go for a student employee that's enrolled in a healthcare curriculum. So we're grateful to Pat. We're grateful to Mickey for hers as well. I also want to thank Liz Roosh. I don't see Liz in the room today, but Liz is the donor of the chair that we are raffling downstairs. The Built Right Lazy Boy Style recliner and lift chair. Tickets are $3 a piece, 3 for $25. The drawing is Monday, July 28th. You can pay for tickets in cash, or you can give us a credit or a debit card. It's a beautiful chair. My thanks to Liz. It's a $3,100 chair. So as long as we're talking about Treasure Chest, I want to point out next week's the 4th of July. My schedule is rather sporadic next week. And unfortunately, the week after that, or fortunately, if you really believe in that good citizen stuff, I'm on jury duty the week after that.
Wow.
That, I may get a trial, I may not. I may not miss any time at work. But if I do, and if any of you want to talk about moving furniture either to the treasure chest, or you've purchased something and you want it moved into the garage for pickup or up to your apartment, our Director of Inventory, Arlie Kapp. Arlie, raise your hand back there. Talk to Arlie. Arlie is going to try to arrange a schedule to handle all those things. It may not happen next week, but I'll tell you, I don't work with anybody but Arlie. So, talk to him and we'll arrange it so that, when I get back, we'll get it to wherever you need it to be, either down to the treasure chest or up or in the garage. So thanks to Arlie for that. In addition to that, our inventory, if you will, our pool of treasure chest volunteers is starting to dwindle. If you are interested in joining us at the treasure chest as a volunteer, the sign-up sheet is in the library, in the first floor down by the reception desk, or come on down with someone who's working on a treasure chest day, Monday or Friday, or just come down on your own anyways and stick around. We would love to have you learn how to do it, get yourself on the schedule. It's really a worthwhile venture. We have $14,000 set aside for scholarships this year already. That'll bring us up to $76,000 in scholarships we've awarded since the program began. But we need more volunteers, so please give that some thought. I also want to bring you up to date. We've talked for the last 2 or 3 months about the fact that a new local charitable trust committed a $100,000 contribution to East Castle Place. I'm pleased to say that $100,000 contribution has been received. $80,000 of it will add or create an endowment here on items that are specific to the desire of the trust that sent us the donation. That's the way East Castle does it. If you designate funds for a particular purpose, that's what we do. So I'm pleased to say that we're $100,000 richer because of the philanthropy of a local charitable trust. And last but not least, you all got save the date cards for September 14th. I hope you marked it down on your calendar. To date, we have 13 corporate sponsors already. We've raised $28,000 for the gala to underwrite it. It's going to be a great night, black tie optional. You're going to have a fabulous time. We're going to provide transportation from here to there at St. Kate's the Arts Hotel. More information will be coming in probably no more than a month from now. Any questions from anybody? Yes?
I want to ask about if we could include with training for the fire pit. Could we also have training for using the grill?
No.
Yes.
Okay, there you have it, the answer.
We can't use it?
No.
Why?
I'll let you know when I get up there.
Okay.
And Tyler, I'm sure wants everybody to hear. The question was, can there be training for the grill? And the answer was no. And Tyler will address that when he gets up here. There was another question from someone. I thought I heard, yes.
Well, I'm going to the same thing that Rita just brought up. This 1:30 training session is to learn to operate the fire pit.
Fire pit.
That's what's on the screen.
Correct.
And,
Correct. A place to casually sit around in the evening and socialize.
And where is this training session going to be held? At what time?
Out in the courtyard at 1:30, right?
1:30.
1:30. It's on your agenda.
In the courtyard.
Yep, in the courtyard by the fire pit.
Okay.
I'm sure there'll be a throng of people. Just head over there. Any other questions? I'm going to turn it over to Tyler.
All right. I'm going to start with what I usually don't say, and that's no. But the question was raised about the grill. Why can't we be trained or use the grill in the courtyard? Two things. The grill does need some work to be done. There is no grease tray on it currently, so we need to get that fixed. Two, not that I don't trust you are excellent grillers. I do. I just don't want the liability of a flare-up or something happening to you or a visitor, and we have bigger issues. We have a wonderful food and beverage team, hospitality team, that will be doing grill outs and cookouts throughout the summer. But it's just not quite a liability I can get comfortable with at this time. Sorry. But maybe we can have cooking demonstrations and staff oversight of grilling someday. We'll figure that out. All right. So I have a few updates and questions, or resident submitted questions, that I will start with, and then a few other updates that you see below. Are there any plans for a future ATM machine? By show of hands, how many of you would utilize an ATM machine that also has a surcharge that would not be tied specifically to your bank? Meaning, it would be a $2.50 charge for you to pull $100 out of the East Castle Place ATM machine. You probably get up to $400 or whatever the ATM max would be. How many of you as residents would be interested in that? I got one. So, it's in consideration because I do believe our employees may also want it and utilize it. It would be at a central location. There is a fee for that, of course. We could add it. You could use it at your leisure. Again, I'll probably base this more on employee utilization as opposed to the one resident that I saw in this group. I'll count it as 5% of resident population that may use the ATM. But then essentially, if we get the ATM, you would no longer cash checks with Sean. You would only get the ATM. That would be the caveat. Okay, good to know. Second question. Who is responsible for doing the planting in the garden adjacent to the butterfly garden? It needs work to make it look good. So, I believe this is in reference to what was formerly known as the resident cutting garden. The cutting garden is something that was started by residents for residents to go and cut whatever flowers you would like out of that garden. Now, my understanding is that the garden is now tilled and ready for planting, Eric.
Already been planted.
It's already been planted. So, it's pretty. I don't know if it needs work. Then maybe
That's
this.
separate from the butterfly garden. The butterfly garden is what was set up for the butterflies last year.
Correct. And the butterfly garden is in process. But this is saying who's responsible for the planting in the garden adjacent to the butterfly. And I don't know who planted it, but thank you. And
The Otises are in charge of that. Dan and Pam.
so, and again, the Otises are who are being said are responsible. If you are not the Otises and do not want to be responsible, we can work through that with you. I see a couple hands. Barbara Hill, I know, had a big hand in this last year and the year prior. Barbara.
Because there was so much other need for our landscaping crew, the cutting garden was way down the list and it needed a lot of work. Plus, it ended up being the resorts for planting temporarily iris and other things. So it was a slow start this year, but Pam and Dan have gotten it going. We are always welcoming, besides those who choose to pick flowers, while you're there, take the dead ones, pull the weeds, keep it going.
Yes. Thank you. Judy?
I'm not sure you're talking about the same garden, because they're not really adjacent. There's a walkway in between the two of them. I'm not sure if there's one right adjacent to the butterfly garden.
I can speak to the gazebo garden, but usually that one's called out as the gazebo garden. I don't know of another garden that.
There's a separate with cement around it that is closer to the residences that have the balconies. The cutting garden is attached to the building. It's right at the edge of the building in a sunken, very sunken spot.
It's not adjacent to the butterfly garden, you know.
No, it's about 10 feet, 15 feet from it.
So this is where I think just Eric and I will take a quick walk one of these days, and then if one of the residents that submitted where the adjacent garden is would want to follow up directly with me, we can solve this. Yes, Judy?
I just want the record to show that Pam and Dan did a beautiful job, and the cutting garden is gorgeous.
Can we give Pam and Dan a round of applause? Thank you. Kendra?
How did it happen that all of these gardens became the responsibility of the residents?
So the question is, how did these gardens become the responsibility of the gardens? And that's where I would direct you to your resident garden committee of the resident council, as I know Eric and I have been working closely with them to try to navigate, who's doing what. That has changed. I think we're in a good place now. Yes.
I think what they might be thinking about would be garden adjacent to the butterfly. If you notice in the middle of the butterfly garden, there's a cement walkway that cuts it in half. And so there's part of the butterfly garden that's really adjacent to the residents' apartments. And then there's part that's between the sidewalk, those two sidewalks. So maybe they're thinking of that, but actually that whole area is part of the butterfly garden.
So as you can see, and thank you for hoping to understand what this question is. Again, I think I would take a walk with any interested residents that may have submitted this question can help me directly. Again, the gazebo garden is almost done. I don't know if any of you have seen that. The lettering is still in process right now. It just says castle, which we are, but we're on the east side, so we really want that east to show up. So again, special thanks to Eric. And since we're on the landscaping topic, before we get into, I know, our favorite topic, spectrum, why don't we just go ahead and I'll update you on some plans based on your feedback. And so, two quick things as I set the microphone down. two quick things. And Eric sent me pictures, and I unfortunately could not find them in time. But how many of you have seen Harash working as our seasonal landscaper this year? So Harash is the counterpart to Dustin. So if you see two gentlemen in green shirts, the one not named Dustin is our seasonal landscaper. Eric showed me before and after pictures of the weeding that he has done and the watering he has done, along with the help of Dustin, of course. But I just want you to know that that is what I believe is a really impactful piece that you said last year, Tyler, we need this. And we'll talk about budget in a little bit, but that is that communication, and that is what we hear from you as residents when you say something. We try to act on it. And so again, I just want to give kudos to our seasonal landscaper for doing an excellent job to make our grounds beautiful. So,
That was it.
I'm getting there. All right, how many of you say that the courtyard needs a little greenery? The main courtyard, adjacent to Lindsay Hall. Joking about the adjacency. So we heard you, right? So Eric has worked with a contractor, and we'll be adding greenery to the courtyard. Unfortunately, that means saw cutting out concrete. So, hindsight 2020, you learn, working with the garden committee, working with C.G. Schmidt, again, decisions were made that nothing was put in front of those windows previously. Again, we all saw the plans, I saw the plans, I take responsibility for this. Somehow it was a miss, and since then we're like, there's something that's necessary. So, we are going to saw cut roughly 4 feet away from the windows and further. And we are going to plant greenery. You can see the firefly hydrangeas, the junipers, the cat's pajamas, and the zigzag. So that is Volani Landshapers. They're a group that's working with our contractor that's actually going to be saw cutting the work as well. That's a piece of it. So this is also some junipers that's going to hide some of that, where the grill is right now, and that trough area. That's what's going to be covered by natural landscape, and also give us some greenery throughout the fall and winter months. So I think that's something that is just another angle that's going to be added there. And then lastly, we're going to be saw cutting again along the wall as you're looking out the dining room towards that wall where the stairs are. We're going to saw cut a big portion out of there as well, adding in some tall native grasses, some chokeberry, larger shrubbery, some color for the summer. But in essence, we're trying to green up that space for a year-round area, so that as you look into the courtyard, you don't just see concrete. And again, that's something that I think I showed the plans and we looked at it. I said, let's go for it. I take responsibility for that. I apologize. And your feedback has been impactful. So a special thanks to Eric for working with, again, this is not a simple project because